Welcome back. Since Blender text objects are a form of a curve object, there are a number of ways to bend and manipulate them. I still have my text object from the previous scene, so I'll tab out of Edit and make sure my cursor is snapped to my text object by hitting Shift-S, cursor to selected. I'll then hit Shift-A and add a Bezier curve. I'll go ahead and name it Firefly Curve. I'll scale it up. I'll tab into Edit mode. Then I'll hit W to subdivide it. We'll come back to that later. But for now, let's tab back out and get into Object mode. I'll now select the text, and I'll choose the Text on Curve drop-down, selecting my Firefly Curve. The text now conforms to my Bezier Curve. Alright, that's neat. So let's select the Firefly Curve and tab back into Edit mode. Now, with our subdivided curve, we can make adjustments and the text will follow, updating as we edit. This is a great method for creating motion graphic assets, even animated ones. Alright, let's tab back out and delete our curve. This time, I'll hit Shift-A and add a Bezier circle. And you guessed it, I'll name it Firefly Circle. Like before, I'll select my text object, and I'll choose Firefly Circle from my Text on Curve dropdown. I'll select my Bezier circle, and I'll scale it to taste. It should be noted that this method of using the Text on Curve box only works in the XY plane. Alright, let's delete that curve object. Now, let's select the text and open our Modifier tab. In our Modifier pull-down, we can see all of the modifiers that are available for text objects in Blender. In this case, let's choose the Simple Deform modifier. Well, that's a mess. Alright, let's change the mode to Bend. We can then set the angle to whatever bend curve we desire. I'll choose 90. Note that the beginning of the text and the end of the text reach a quarter circle, or 90 degrees. This modifier also works along the XY plane. Let's choose the X to delete this modifier and get rid of it. Now, if we want to affect our text along the Z-axis, we're going to need a different modifier. We'll need a curve modifier. First, let's add a new Bezier circle to the scene. You can name it Text Circle or just not name it or whatever you like. I'll then rotate it 90 degrees on the X-axis. I'll do this by hitting R for rotate, X for the axis, 90, and enter. And then I'll scale it up a bit. Now, we can select our text and add a curve modifier. In the Object drop-down, I'll then select my Bezier circle. The text now conforms to the circle on the XZ plane. We can also change its local axis to the curve by changing our deformation axis. In this case, let's try -X. Alright, we can also convert our text to a mesh object as it is a form of a curve. However, before we do that, Blender's default resolution for text objects is set to 12, and that's really pretty high. So let's go up to our Properties panel and change that down to 6. Now, if you remember, our hotkey is Alt-C to change curve and mesh objects. So let's go ahead and do that. If we tab into Edit mode, We can see our mesh, and we can see how some of the corner geometry is still very dense. Imagine if we'd left that at 12. Alright, now let's tab back into object mode. Let's deselect our mesh, and let's hit Shift A and create a UV sphere. I'll scale that up a bit, and then I'll smooth it. Alright, this is pretty neat looking. Kind of reminds me of like the Daily Planet in the Superman comics or something. But I think I would like to have the text face out from the sphere. So let's select our text. Oh no! Our modifier is gone from the stack. Okay, no real surprise there. This happened when we converted our text to a mesh. But I wanted to emphasize that your text object needs to be the way you want it before you convert it to a mesh. Alright, we've had 2 videos to get pretty familiar with text objects in Blender. So to close out this chapter, let's have one small challenge. Using text of your choice and a UV sphere, create a scene as we would have liked to with the text facing out from the sphere. Bonus points if you can make the text render the way you like from the angle you're working at without having to fly the camera around. Now, that may sound confusing, and if you're really stuck trying to get a really nice render that way, I am going to leave you with 3 clues. Number 1, move your light to get a good angle for your render. Number 2, when you render, remember the magic ambient occlusion button. And number 3, and most importantly, if your text isn't positioned or rotated around your sphere the way you want, I'm going to give you one word: parenting. Good luck, and if you have any questions, please ask. And I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Materials!